When Bobo arrived at the Mafu primate sanctuary at the tender age of 2, he had already endured significant trials in his young life. Born in the wild, he experienced the nurturing care typical of a young gorilla until tragedy struck. Poachers invaded his habitat, forcibly separating him from his mother, leaving him orphaned and ill-equipped to fend for himself. Thankfully, sanctuary staff discovered Bobo and welcomed him into the fold, alongside other young gorillas who shared similar traumatic experiences. As time passed, Bobo matured into a formidable presence, assuming the role of alpha within his group. His physical stature grew exponentially, towering over his fellow gorillas, rendering him an imposing figure no poacher would dare to confront. Fortunately, the compassionate community at the South African sanctuary embraced Bobo with the same warmth and care afforded to every resident animal. Over the years, their dedication had resulted in the rescue and rehabilitation of more than 300 apes and monkeys, including Bobo, providing them with sanctuary and a chance at a new life. Whether due to poaching or injury, the sanctuary welcomed animals in need of rehoming or rehabilitation with open arms. Among the dedicated caretakers, Alyssa stood out for her role in nurturing Bobo, guiding him to become a strong and wise gorilla. Her deep bond with Bobo stemmed from her intimate knowledge of him, acquired through countless hours spent together, allowing her to understand his every nuance. Alyssa could discern Bobo's emotions with remarkable accuracy, sensing his happiness, contentment, as well as his anger or irritation. This intuitive connection made her uniquely capable of communicating with him, bridging the gap between human and gorilla. Despite Bobo's remarkable growth, surpassing even the stature of the sanctuary workers, their bond remained unbreakable, akin to a mother-son relationship. Bobo, weighing in at an impressive 300 pounds with a commanding presence, might have seemed intimidating at first glance. While he could assert his dominance when necessary, he possessed a remarkably gentle side. This softer aspect of his nature often manifested in interactions with other apes and even some of the sanctuary staff, revealing a compassionate and loving soul beneath his imposing exterior. Witnessing such a large and typically gentle animal display such tenderness was always a striking sight. However, Bobo's demeanor could swiftly shift to one of violence and power when other male gorillas attempted to challenge his alpha status. Two young males, Kibo and McCain, once challenged Bobo, leading to a fierce altercation that required intervention from Alyssa and the keepers to separate them. Despite their efforts, the challenge did not end favorably for Kibo and McCain, solidifying Bobo's position as the undisputed alpha. However, Alyssa began to notice a concerning change in Bobo's behavior. While he typically engaged with his surroundings and interacted with the group, he started to withdraw, hiding in the tall grass and distancing himself from the others. This change raised alarm among the staff and the apes alike, as Bobo seemed increasingly distracted and disinterested in his surroundings. Recognizing the significance of these behavioral changes, Alyssa closely monitored Bobo, determined to uncover the root cause of his withdrawal. Soon, Alyssa discerned that Bobo's trips to the tall grass weren't for hiding himself, but rather for concealing something else. He was using it as a stash spot. Gorillas, besides their immense strength, possess intelligence and emotional depth, capable of harboring their own secrets. If Bobo was intent on keeping his actions hidden, there was little chance of discovery by casual observation, as entering his territory without caution would be perilous. Alyssa devised a plan. She waited until feeding time, then served Bobo his meal inside his enclosure. As the giant gorilla contentedly consumed his food, Alyssa swiftly closed the cage behind him, securing his containment and creating a safe opportunity for her to investigate his hiding spot. Bobo, seemingly unperturbed by the sudden enclosure, remained focused on his meal, paying Alyssa little attention. She cautiously approached the tall grass, vigilant for any signs of suspicion. Upon reaching the spot where Bobo had exhibited peculiar behavior, Alyssa was surprised to find nothing out of the ordinary, just flattened grass where he had been sitting. It was a relief to discover nothing of significance, alleviating any concerns she may have had. Alyssa grew increasingly concerned that Bobo might have obtained something dangerous, a potential threat to both him and herself. However, what she failed to realize was that Bobo hadn't hidden anything in the grass. Rather, he kept his secret possession with him at all times. It wasn't until Alyssa noticed Bobo holding something in his hands, studying it intently, that she realized she had been misled by the gorilla. Determined to uncover the mystery, she attempted to approach him, only to be met with Bobo's anger and irritation. He evaded any attempts to get a closer look, retreating to secluded spots whenever anyone came near. Bobo consistently maintained distance from others, guarding his secret with vigilance. Despite the curiosity of Alyssa, other humans, and even some of the other gorillas, Bobo adamantly protected his possession. His displays of aggression made it clear that discovering his secret would not come easily, deterring even the most curious from attempting to uncover it. Despite Bobo's general aversion to others getting too close, Alyssa had a unique ability to connect with him. After numerous attempts, she finally managed to approach him closely enough to see what he held in his hands. What she discovered left her utterly astonished. Contrary to expectations, Bobo wasn't hoarding an object or food. Instead, he cradled a tiny animal. At first glance, Alyssa mistook it for a rodent, possibly a mouse or a rat. However, upon closer inspection through binoculars, the true identity of the creature became apparent. It was a galago, a type of primate rarely cared for at the sanctuary. The galago had likely wandered into Bobo's enclosure from the surrounding forest, where he discovered and adopted it as a pet of sorts. Despite the vast size difference, Bobo handled the tiny primate with care, gently prodding, stroking, and even engaging in playful interactions. Surprisingly, the galago appeared entirely comfortable and unafraid in the presence of the enormous gorilla that had taken it under his wing. Sometimes, the galago would venture into the tall grass or scamper around, but it consistently returned to Bobo, displaying a seemingly affectionate bond with the gorilla. Despite galagos typically hunting and being active at night, Alyssa wondered if it might leave Bobo's enclosure during those hours. However, her surprise grew when she discovered that Bobo was not only sharing his food with the small primate, but also actively feeding it himself. The other gorillas in the sanctuary, just as astonished and intrigued as Alyssa and the staff, found themselves kept at a safe distance by Bobo. Despite his imposing size, it was evident that the affection and care Alyssa had bestowed upon him during his upbringing were now redirected towards his tiny and extraordinarily unconventional galago companion.